TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, a first installment of 3 Israeli hostages were released from Hamas captivity in exchange for 90 Palestinian terror operatives from Israeli jails, marking the start of the first phase of the deal struck between Israel and Hamas under U.S., Qatari and Egyptian mediation. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and his Jewish power faction quits Netanyahu's government over the ceasefire agreement between Jerusalem and Hamas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stresses that Israel has a green light to return to fighting in the Gaza Strip if the terror group Hamas fails to reach a compromise in Phase 2 or Phase 3. The first installment of 3 Israeli hostages released from Hamas captivity in exchange for 90 Palestinian terror operatives from Israeli jails has concluded yesterday, with 3 female civilians embraced by their loved ones upon arrival at a hospital in central Israel.
I'm happy to report that they are in stable condition that allows us and them to focus on what is the most important thing for now, is reuniting with their families. They are reunited with their families, and we will continue to monitor their clinical condition. This will take a few more days until we complete all the examinations that are needed and treat whatever we find within these within the workup that we will perform.
It is important to know that prior to the enforcement of the ceasefire on Sunday morning, a special joint operation by the IDF and ISA successfully retrieved the body of Staff Sergeant Oron Shaul, who was killed and subsequently taken captive by the Islamist Hamas during Operation Protective Edge over a decade ago.
שבפעילות חשאית מיוחדת של צה"ל ושב"כ.
In a special IDF and ISA covert operation, the abducted fallen soldier Staff Sergeant Oron Shaul. Oron, who fell in battle in Shujaa on July 20th, 2014, during Operation Protective Edge, and was abducted by the Hamas terrorist organization, was rescued from Gaza. This was a significant intelligence and operational undertaking that lasted over the past decade since his fall and abduction, and especially during the war and over the past few days. The IDF and ISA worked around the clock. We operated jointly for many years to bring Oron, may his memory be a blessing, to burial in Israel.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a televised address to the nation in an attempt to alleviate concerns regarding the outline of the ceasefire agreement that has brought about much discomfort to Israel's general public. In his remarks, Premier Netanyahu initially focused on the sole reason for Jerusalem's decision to accept the deal.
הקבינט והממשלה אישרו את המתווה להשבת חטופינו.
The Security Cabinet and the government have approved the framework for the return of our hostages. This is the objective of the war from which we will not relent until it will be completed. The sacred mission to release hostages has accompanied me throughout my life, from my IDF service and throughout my years as Prime Minister. Together with you, citizens of Israel, and together with many people around the world, my wife Sarah and I have hoped, prayed, and worked for the return of all of our hostages. I think about them all the time. I promise you, we will insist on all the objectives of the war. We will bring all of them back home. As of today, we have returned home 157 of our hostages, 117 of whom were alive. Under the agreement that has now been approved, we will return home another 33 of our brothers and sisters, most of them alive. This agreement is, first of all, the result of the heroism of our fighters in combat, and it is also the result of our steadfast insistence on Israel's vital interests, in the face of heavy pressure at home and abroad. This agreement is also the result of cooperation between the outgoing administration of President Biden and the incoming administration of President Trump. From the moment he was elected, President Trump has been involved in the mission for the release of our hostages. He spoke with me Wednesday evening. He welcomed the agreement and rightly emphasized that the first stage of the agreement is a temporary ceasefire. That is what he said, a temporary ceasefire.
While promising to uphold all of Israel's war objectives as part of the latest deal with Hamas, Prime Minister Netanyahu also underscored an American commitment that Israel will be able to reignite the war in the event that Hamas refuses to accept the terms of its defeat.
Ahead of the next stages of the agreement, we retain significant assets in order to return all of our hostages and in order to meet the objectives of the war. Both President Trump and President Biden have given full backing to Israel's right to return to the fighting if Israel reaches the conclusion that the second stage negotiations are ineffectual. I greatly appreciate this. I also greatly appreciate President Trump's decision to lift the remaining restrictions on providing vital weapons and munitions to the State of Israel. If we need to go back to the fighting, we will do so in new ways and with great force.
It is important to know that Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and his Jewish power faction announced their resignation after the hostage release deal was approved. This move, which is broadly believed to be the result of his declining popularity in the polls, has not threatened Netanyahu's coalition, since Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar's faction, which joined the government on the 29th of September of last year, guarantees the survival of the coalition. Nevertheless, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich published a statement in which he warned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over failing to reignite the war if the goals that were set by Jerusalem are not achieved.
Unfortunately, we were not able to stop this dangerous deal, but insisted and we were able to assure, through government decision, the cabinet and other ways to assure that the war will not stop without fulfilling all its goals, and the complete destruction of Hamas in Gaza. Citizens of Israel, we are facing difficult and emotional days. We will be glad and emotional for the return of some of our hostages, but we will remember the hard war that awaits us after that, to go back and fight until victory. My aim now is only one, the comprehensive victory against Hamas militarily and civilian, and to return all the hostages home. I stress that we will not accept any excuse. We will not remain in a government that stops the war and will not continue until the complete victory over Hamas. People of Israel, do not lose heart. In war there are big moments and complex movements, and this situation we are in right now is one of the complex ones.
Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi emphasized the Israeli military's unyielding determination to achieve all of the war objectives moving forward.
For over a year and 3 months, the IDF has been fighting Hamas, during which important goals were achieved. We defeated the military arm of Hamas, we eliminated the chain of command of the organizations, and the one who stood at the helm, Yehya Sinwar. The task is not concluded here. We still have much to do, which we will accomplish with power and much determination. The IDF's intense fighting has matured the conditions for realizing the important goal which we are facing today, returning the kidnapped men and women to their country and families.
General Halevi went on to stress the IDF's commitment to the people of Israel, stressing that the Israeli military is far more prepared than when it failed to guarantee the security of Israel's southern communities on October 7th of 2023.
IDF forces are working first and foremost to protect the citizens of the State of Israel. At this time, alongside the excitement and anticipation, we in the IDF are committed to all the hostages and their families, soldiers and civilians alike. We will not stop, we will not rest, until they all return. The actions of the IDF and Shin Bet have a decisive weight in creating the conditions for the agreement that was reached.
Meanwhile, hundreds of trucks carrying aid have entered the Gaza Strip through Israel's Kerem Shalom border crossing.
Thank Allah, all the trucks entered. None of them was brought back. There was no restrictions like things used to be before. There is no procrastination. All the trucks moved, and more trucks are getting in just now. Before, the trucks were prevented from entry to Gaza. Today, from early in the day as you can see, there are trucks that are still entering. It was not like this before. They used to stop the entry of trucks by 2 or 3 p.m. There are still trucks coming in, and more loading aid.
In addition to this significant flow of aid into the Gaza Strip, Israel released 90 convicted terrorists to the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. It is important to know that TV7 Israel is a non-profit ministry with all of our productions exclusively reliant on monthly donations. Therefore, I would like to thank all of you who proactively support TV7 Israel. And note further, if you're blessed by the content of our programs, I would like to encourage you to donate. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, I'd like to encourage you as ever, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.